In this video, I'm going to demonstrate two taping techniques, one using kinesiology tape and the other one, the rigid zinc oxide tape. Now, I'm also going to explain how you can decide whether the tape is actually doing anything, because if it's not doing anything, there's no use in applying it. And there are other things that's more effective, like braces, for instance, if the tape's not working. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Maryke. I'm one of the physiotherapists from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you get online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment for any type of sports injury, all done by a video call. Have a look at the description of this video if you want the link to our website. General precautions: just don't apply tape over any skin irritation or blisters or open wounds. It'll make it worse. Also leave 24 hours between tape applications. So if you've had it on for a couple of days, take it off. Don't put anything on for 24 hours and then reapply it if it's useful for you. Obviously, if you develop any itchiness, blistering, or anything that tells you something is irritated, just take it off immediately. Tape's likely not going to work for you, and there are other options like braces that's actually more effective than tape. I'll link to those videos in the description of this one. I made a whole playlist of the most evidence-based or most recent evidence-based treatments for tennis elbow, and you can find it in the description. Also, if you're not sure if you're allergic to tape, just take a small piece, stick it on the inner arm and leave it for 24 hours. You'll very quickly tell if it starts to itch or get irritated, and then you know that no, you need to use something else. But with kinesiology tape, if you're getting blistering around the edges of the anchor points, the final points, you're likely only applying that tape with too much stretch. It's not necessarily that you're allergic to it. What happens then is, because of the pulling traction on the skin, it can start creating blisters in some people. So if that's the case, you've likely just put too much stretch on it, and I will explain in detail when we go into the application how to avoid that. The first taping technique is a kinesiology taping technique. Now, kinesio tape is the beautiful, colorful tape that you see people wear sometimes. It's really stretchy. If I can show you, you can stretch it really far out. And it's nice and soft, and it's really comfortable to wear usually. There are three theories as to why kinesiology tape may help with tennis elbow. The first is that it might inhibit the wrist extensor muscles. Now, your wrist extensor muscles do this action, and they are attached to the elbow with the tendons that becomes painful and injured when you've got tennis elbow. So if you can make them work less hard, you can allow the tendon in theory to rest, which will help it recover. Now, there are studies where they've looked at how active these muscles are when you do different tasks before and after you apply tape. And some of the studies show that, yeah, perhaps they're not as active. The second theory is that it's lifting the skin micromillimeters, which helps your lymph drainage. Your lymph vessels are the ones that takes all the chemicals and things that's being produced during the day, as well as from the injury processes, away and gets rid of it in the body. So if you can improve the lymph drainage, you may improve healing, you may improve or decrease pain because you've got fewer of those chemicals that can irritate the nerve endings accumulating in that area. And then lastly, there is also the theory that it just acts as a pain gate mechanism. Now, pain gate means you're creating a different sensation that kind of gates or stops the brain from experiencing the pain so much. The best example is when you knock your arm or something and you rub it and it makes it feel better. That's the pain gate theory in action. Basically, the rubbing distracts the brain or stops the messages being delivered as quickly, and your pain decreases. Is there any evidence in the research to support these theories? We don't really know how tape is doing what it's doing, but there is some evidence that kinesiology tape may be useful as part of a treatment plan for tennis elbow. It may help reduce your pain, but it doesn't work for everybody. And the advice is that you don't use it as a standalone treatment, but you combine it with other evidence-based things like, for instance, load management, that you really look at how much you do in a day. I've discussed all the evidence-based treatments in detail in previous videos. The links are all in the description to this one. For this taping technique, we need a 5 centimeter thickness kinesiology tape and obviously a pair of scissors, and it can really help if you've got somebody else who can apply the tape. It is possible to apply it yourself, but it's just much easier if somebody else helps you. Also, I would invest in slightly more expensive tape. You get really cheap stuff off of Amazon, but in my experience, it just comes off again. So my favorite brand is Rock Tape. It really sticks. My rugby players used to be able to go a whole match with it on. And This is a cheaper brand. Let's hope it sticks properly today. It was all I could get hold of. But yeah, rock tape is definitely the better one to go for. It's important to prep the skin before you start, because if you've got a very hairy model, which this one was unfortunately before I had to shave him, you've got to shave the hair off because otherwise the tape will just not stick. But also make sure you wash the skin before you apply it, because if there's any oil on there or any cream especially, as soon as you start moving, it's just going to pull off. So the other reason why it may pull off is if you apply it too tightly with too much stretch, then it's going to come off as well. Or if you've got cheap tape, then it usually comes off as well. So what we're looking for is with the arms straight out, you're just going to measure from about the middle of the fist to about a centimeter above the crease of the elbow. Okay? And that's your first piece that you're going to cut. It doesn't matter. It's not an exact science, so just eyeball it. And then the second piece we want to cut is you look at what part of the arm is the chunkiest, and you just measure halfway around that about, and you cut that piece. Okay, now, it really helps if you prepare these beforehand. It just makes the whole thing easier. So one side is going to be our thick anchor, and you want to round the corners because then they don't stick to clothes and things that's easily and pull off. Don't know if it really works. I've just been taught it and I've always done it. So yeah, I just keep on doing it. You also want to split it down the middle so that we're getting 2 strips, and you want to leave the last bit about 2 centimeters, two fingers thick. There we go. And then you want to round the corners of these guys as well. There we go. And we're doing the same thing with this one. Okay, then last bit of prep, 2 centimeters from the edge, you tear the paper, but you keep it in place. And you'll see why that's really useful in a minute. Also in line with this, you just tear that bit off. Whoopsie, just make sure that one's properly separated. Same drill for this. There we go. And this. Okay, so our prep's done. Let's get on to the technique. So to apply the tape, we're going to start with the elbow straight, wrist in or hand in a gentle fist. It's not as strong as you can, and it's just in neutral. And we're going to use this one first. And the aim here is to put it down so that it surrounds the wrist extensor muscles. And if you don't know where they run, just pull this up for me, hold it there, don't let me push it down. As soon as you contract against resistance, you can see them bulging. So I'm just going to get you to turn your arm a little bit to that side so they can see what's happening. So in that position, and hold it there, and you can see how lovely that's bulging now. So when I apply the tape, I'm going to aim to kind of come around there and around there, and there we go. Okay, but the first bit, this is your bottom anchor. You do not want to apply any stretch to it when you stick it down. So you're just carefully taking the tape off. Don't touch the back of it because otherwise it won't stick that well. And you're going to stick it on, well, I'm touching it, but very gently. You're going to stick it on the bottom or on the back of the wrist, a little bit towards the thumb side because we want to angle it along this area. So we're just sticking that down and just rubbing it. I like using a piece of paper, rubbing it to make sure that it's really, the glue's activated and it sticks. Now, next step is we're going to stretch the skin as we apply the tape. So just lift the arm for me, please. So lift the wrist. There we go. And bend the wrist down gently. And we're going to just turn it out slightly to the outside. So again, for the purpose of this video, because my angle is a bit, this is what it looks from the top. So you start off by just bring it to the midline again, just bending it down and then out to the side. So we want that flexion and out to the side a little bit. So you're going to keep it like that in a neutral position. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to pull this one off, but try not to touch the back of the tape too much. And this is why it's useful also that we left the last bit of the anchor. So we've got that bit that we can hold on to. And straighten your elbow, please. Thank you. And we're just
putting a teeny tiny bit of stretch, about 10-20% stretch on it, and we're laying it down to surround that muscle and come up, and at the top there, we just kind of angle it a little bit. There we go. That's the first one. And then the second one, it's going to be the inner border. Now we're pulling this one off again. And actually, if you can just turn your arm out that way so that people can see properly. So we're going to bring it around. I'm not stretching it as much as I can. It's literally a 10 to 20. You need to flex your wrist, please. Thank you. I know it's an awkward ankle. And we're coming around there. There we go. And the last bit, you stick down with no stretch on it. Actually, can you move forward so that people can see? There we go. Thank you. This bit has no stretch on it. I just pulled the paper off and I'm just putting it down like that. If you put too much stretch on this bit, this is when it starts creating blisters on the skin because it pulls on it. So this bit has no stretch. It's only this bit that has a bit. So that's the first part. We've now surrounded the muscle. You can relax your arm for me for a little bit. Okay, then we're going to apply the little one. And the little one, we want to take about, if this is the elbow crease, you go about 1 centimeter below. You do not want to go in the elbow crease because that's definitely going to cause irritation from all the sweating. And the aim is going to be, you're going to come from the outside into the inside, and we want to eventually get a nice triangle going this way across this bit to inhibit the muscles. Well, that's the thinking behind it. So again, we're going to first take the backing off. And for this, I just need you to come back to neutral for me, Nick, please. Okay, we want to start. Here's the elbow crease going along that. We're going to start here. There we go. Actually, a little bit lower because otherwise my angle's not going to work. And you make sure that sticks down. So no stretch on that bit. And you're pulling this bit off. If it wants to come. And you've got this lovely handle. And I'm just, for the purpose of this video, going to get you to turn your arm that way around, sorry, so people can see. And we're angling a little bit to this side. But again, it's just a 20% stretch. There we go. And trying to avoid the crease. Now, if like me, you see it is actually going to go into the crease, I just tend to adjust it a little bit so it doesn't do that too much. So don't worry to adjust your tape as you go, and no stretch on that last little bit. Okay, and then same thing for this, take it off, have this bit, 20% stretch, and you're angling it down a little bit now, and you stick it down, and then this last bit, you have no stretch on it, you just stick it down and rub it. So if I can get you to just bring it this way, you can see it from this angle, you can see it all the way from that angle. And the whole idea is that the main muscle belly, I think I might have, it's a bit difficult because I tried to get into the camera. I would possibly have applied that a little bit higher up, that we came around like that a bit more, but it should work like this. Good thing about this tape, it is water resistant, so you can still go and have a shower and everything. It's just if you're going to go hectic on hand washing and things, it is probably going to come off. So just think about what you're doing with it. The zinc oxide we're going to use in the next technique is also waterproof, so it should also stay on, but I won't get it too wet, to be honest.
I don't see the point of just applying tape for the sake of applying tape. I would always tell my patients to actually test if it's effective or not. And it's not rocket science, but the first thing you've got to do is you have to actually figure out what are your pain levels like during the day. Because especially if you've had your pain for a long time, it can feel as if everything's hurting it. And it's just painful all the time. But that's likely not the real situation. You will find that actually what's happening is there are key moments in the day that your pain has built up and is quite painful, or key things that really annoys it. But you do have moments where it's not that bad. So what you want to do is apply the tape and then go reassess those movements and things and see if it reduces your pain at all. You're looking for a reduction of around 50% in discomfort. At that point, I feel, okay, applying tape may be useful. If not, then I would likely use some of the braces and just experiment with them. Then rather, I've made videos about how to choose the braces and also how to apply them properly and when to use them. So have a look at the description if you're looking for more info on that. If you're finding this information useful, please remember to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Next up, we've got the zinc oxide taping technique. So it's a diamond taping technique and it uses zinc oxide tape, which is really rigid tape. You can usually Oh, now it's not going to work. Tear it quite easily like that. And you'll notice there's no stretch on this tape. It's brilliant if you want to support an area. So when I worked in rugby, I would tape some of the guys' shoulders with that because it really just helped to support it. Now, similar to the kinesiology taping technique, some clinicians think that it's the pain gate theory at work. So you're getting a different sensation because the tape's pulling on the skin, stopping the pain signals. But others think that the way the tape is applied may be offloading the painful area and just giving it a little bit of rest, that it doesn't get that much tension. As for the research, again, there's no evidence as to how it may be working, but there is evidence to show that it might reduce tennis elbow pain when you use it. So again, apply it, test it, see if it works for you.
For the next taping technique, we're going to use zinc oxide tape. Now, it's the non-stretchy tape. And this is about 3.8 centimeters wide, 1.5 inch. I'm going to put links in the description of this video to examples of this on Amazon if you want to see what it looks like and where you can get it. But I've marked on Nick's arm where he has most of the pain. And that's the key here, because with this taping technique, we're going to make a diamond around it that pulls the skin in, and the idea is that it offloads that painful area. So you don't have to put obviously a cross there. I just did it because it makes it more visible for you, but also, to be honest, it helps me because otherwise you lose the plot because the elbow is so fiddly. So it can be a very useful thing if you just make a dot or something on the area you're trying to go for. How did I find the most painful area? I asked him to contract against against resistance, try to push down, or you can also just relax it for me. You can just press and see where does it feel most of the tenderness when you press on it. You definitely need somebody else to do this technique for you. You can't do it on your own. So if you don't have an assistant, the kinesiology taping technique may be the better option for you. Now, what we want to do is the diamond we're going to create, we're going to need 8 pieces of tape. And it's about that distance that we're going to need. So that distance. So you measure one out. I always take it a little bit longer than what I think it should be. And then I stick them all down on the table because otherwise it gets really fiddly to do one at a time. Okay, so let me just see the angles because I often lose my plot when I try to think of what I'm doing here. Okay, we're going to stick one edge down, just one point. This is our starter point here. Let me just see, the diamond's going to go like that. Yes. And now you're pulling gently with your thumb the skin away in that direction. And then you're just laying the rest of the tape down firmly. Teeny bit of stretch, but not really. And definitely the last part, no stretch. Ideally, you don't want to go into the elbow crease too much because that can irritate it. So if you see you are, just shorten the tape or something like that, that it doesn't really go into that area. So that's the first one. Now we're just going to continue our diamond. So we stick this one down. Yeah, see, it's going to go over the elbow, which is going to come off. So I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter. Here we go. And I'm sticking this bit down and I'm pulling the skin away into the diamond again and just laying this bit down. There we go. Now, normally, this is easier if you apply it and you're actually standing on the other side, because then you see better what you're doing. But for the video's purpose, I couldn't fit myself in there. Now, you also want to just reinforce it, and the second layer of tape, you're just laying down over the previous one, about that there's a third sticking out. So again, we're applying this bit. Oh, no, what am I doing? Need to take it a bit further down. There we go. Pull in. Lay it down. Once you've applied it, you want to see that there's a little bit of a puffy area in the middle of how you pull the skin in. And the idea is that that will just help support whatever is in this area, that it doesn't overly stretch or get overly used. Personally, I think having something on your elbow that pulls tight every time you move your arm just reminds you more that you've got an issue with your elbow, so likely you're looking after it more. whatever is working here, the research shows that it can reduce your pain, so it's useful in any case. But if you find tape useful, you may also want to try a brace, because a brace is easier to apply and you don't have to go through all the rigmarole, and it's kind of on the skin. Remember, we've got videos about all of those different treatments and things that work for people, because there's no one size fits all. So please look at the description of this video if you want information about that.
Brilliant. Hope you found that useful. Now remember, if you need more help with an injury, you're welcome to consult one of the team via video call. The link to the website is in the description of this video. If you've got any questions, ask them in the comments, and remember to hit like and subscribe. It will really help the channel.